Hello and welcome to the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer here, along with Dave Oster. And before we get started with anything, guys, I want to make a special introduction. His debut to the Onside Kick airs tonight. Mark Weber of Uncensored Sports coming into the Onside Kick team. Mark, introduce yourself. Say hello to the crowd out there.
Hey, America. How you doing today? Because I assume America's listening right now.
Yes, maybe a little bit of Europeans. We don't know.
They're gonna be disappointed when they learn I don't really
you're
like
not
soccer.
saying hi to the rest of the world. Pretty inconsiderate.
I don't really care about the rest of the world's sports very much, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we got a jam-packed show, guys. We're going to be talking a little bit of NFL, a little bit of baseball with the Justin Upton trade that just happened. But the first thing I want to talk about, Mark, you actually brought it up before we went hot and were recording. The New Orleans Pelicans are finally here. The Hornets will finish out the season, but the Pelicans were announced.
The Pelicans, the way I put it before, the Pelicans is a name. Yeah, basically. It's a name that a junior high has because some mom was very concerned about how intimidating and violent, the rifles or the bullets or something were. So they came up with kind of a cutesy, the Pelicans. Yay, nobody can get upset about the Pelicans. That's what it sounds like to me.
And yet they're trying to make the mascot look aggressive. Have you seen the head-on shot of the mascot? It's the color scheme and the angle. It just looks like it's trying to be an angry pelican, and it's like, what?
If I was a pelican from New Orleans, though, I would be very angry because I would be covered in oil still.
See, there's two logos, guys, that I'm looking at. The one is, Dave, the one you said, where it's the head-on pelican. And for the listeners out there, go to the Onside Kick Facebook. We're going to be putting both images on the Facebook page so you can see what we're talking about. But it looks like, if you look at the center, at the Pelican's head, does it not look like the exact same thing as the Hornets logo? What they already have now, it's already the same. It has the basketball right underneath. The other logo that I'm looking at is this one where the Pelican's sitting on top of a basketball with kind of a side shot of him with his wings up. And I think this mascot is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in the NBA. It's worse than the Kings.
Yeah, I really don't see the point in it.
It's bad. The only thing I do like, and one redeeming quality, is I heard someone say on Twitter that they were going to want to be eventually referred to as the Pels instead of the Pelicans. Kind of like the Knicks instead of the Knickerbockers. Which even just saying that is ridiculous.
Yeah, but you say the Knicks, and it's like, okay, the Knicks sounds cool. The Pels, no one's going to get, you say Knicks, and most people know, okay, Knickerbockers. You're going to say Pels, and people might be like, what the hell's a Pel?
You talking about like a lapel?
Yeah, that's like anything. No one's going to know that it's a Pelican. See, the name I don't know why they didn't go with, because it would make the most sense for what New Orleans is Brass.
I would have loved the Brass. I think that's great.
The New Orleans Brass would have been the best name. Oh, best.
Or side note here, as long as we're splitting off on names.
Okay.
In reaction to the New Orleans becoming the Pelicans, now that the Hornets is available, Jordan is talking about reclaiming the name Hornets for his team. And it's like, okay, so we're getting the Seattle Supersonics back, assumingly.
Okay.
And we're going to get the Hornets back. Why don't we just take back the Jazz from, over where it makes 0 sense in Utah, and bring it back to New Orleans where it makes perfect sense, and they get a nickname, and not New Orleans.
And we can call them the Mormons or something.
Call them something. I don't care.
The
Jazz
Bobcats?
in the middle of Utah makes no sense.
Are Bobcats in Utah? Are there Bobcats in Utah?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, they have mountains in Utah.
Yeah, but
the Utah Mountain Goats. There you go.
Yeah, call them the Mountains or something. The Mountaineers.
Or give them the Kings, or even the Queens.
A little rough there.
No, but I mean, Dave, what you're saying with the Bobcats going to the Hornets, I don't know about you guys. I kind of like it because maybe it's just me thinking back to my 90s basketball, a little Muggsy Bogues going to be playing around, a little Vlade Divac. maybe Kobe will come back and play for the Hornets in Charlotte like he should have been.
Nope. That's trade.
It'll be nice to have all those, especially the Supersonics. The Thunder, they're great in Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City deserves a team. But really, the Supersonics should not have been taken away from Seattle.
Yeah, it was a business deal. It had nothing to do with the fact of, the town loved the team and didn't want to see it go. Completely different situation than we're seeing over in Sacramento, where they're losing money as a franchise there, and they need to get some attendance. So they're like, well, you know what? It hasn't been going here for the past, I think, 3 years. They've been talking about this deal of trying to move the team, and it finally went through because, guess what? No money left. So shipping them off. With the Supersonics, they had the money. It was just he got a better offer. The owner of the team got a better offer, so he took the team and ran.
Well, the one question I have, and you guys can give a better answer than I could, because I don't know what's going to go on. Let's say the history of the Supersonics, the Western Conference Championship per se that they won in 1996. Who does that go with? Does it go with the Thunder, or does it stay in Seattle with the new Seattle Supersonics?
I think it has to stay with the new Seattle Supersonics. I think when you get a new team, it's almost as if the Supersonics just took a hiatus, and coincidentally at the same time, the Oklahoma City Thunder just existed. Like they were just born, they were founded. Then I think that's the way you have to look at it at this point.
I completely
Once
agree.
you get the Supersonics back.
See, I don't know. I just think that part of me wants to say, okay, they stay with the Thunder because of the fact that the Thunder were the Supersonics that came to Oklahoma City. But at the same time, how many people refer back to the Thunder being the Supersonics? To me, whenever someone talks about the Thunder, it seems like they just came out of nowhere, where it was like there was no Thunder, and then boom, there was the Thunder.
Yeah, I thought the way it was hyped up was, I remember the first year they got into the playoffs as the Thunder, they were like kind of like denying the fact that they had previous experience as the Supersonics, not even a decade ago. So I think they want to create their own history, their own atmosphere around them instead of piggybacking on, well, we used to be them, and their histories are. I think they want to do their own thing there. So I think there won't be a whole lot of controversy about Seattle picking up the banners that it had in the past.
I think like a good comparison people could make is with the Browns and the Ravens.
That's what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Exactly. And I really think the situations are similar, but I really don't think the fans are going to have that same disdain that like Browns fans have for the Ravens. Because it's not like the Oklahoma City Thunder picked up on the success of the Supersonics and then just went over and just continued it and eventually, did great things with it. They kind of have seemed to have built up on their own. They've built around their own identity. It's not a piggyback. They completely started over.
Well, the one thing I'm going to make this comparison, and I feel like I can make the comparison, but you guys tell me if I'm wrong. The only thing that's different between the Ravens and Browns situation compared to this one is, why did the Browns originally move to Baltimore? Because the Colts just got up and left one day. It was like they were a husband that was sick and tired of his family and just got up and walked right out the door in the middle of the night while the kids were sleeping. And I just feel like the Ravens and the Thunder, you can kind of compare them and make them very similar, because Oklahoma City has always wanted a basketball team, and now that they have one, the city is just exploding with basketball fever. And ever since the Ravens have gone to Baltimore, look at how big football's been in Baltimore. I mean, it was already big in Maryland, but I mean, they won a Super Bowl in 2000, 2001, and now they're back in it this year.
I kind of look at the Baltimore Ravens history, and it kind of seems like a continuation off of the history of the Browns. Even though the Browns, they started back up again, obviously, and they're still here today. But I don't know, I kind of look at that as more of a continuation of one straight line of team history that just happened to change cities and name. Where with the Thunder, I really don't see the connection between the two team names and the two histories between the two teams.
I think there's a distinction between the two, and the fan bases have pretty much agreed upon, that's yours, this is ours kind of thing. It's been divvied out.
See, and the one thing, what happens to Sacramento? Do they become like what LA has become in the football world? Where they used to have a team, and then it's like forever they don't, and then maybe within 5-10 years we could see Sacramento say, hey, we want a basketball team again?
I hope not, because it just doesn't seem like they have enough support in the local area. But there's already so many teams in California as it is. I mean...
you have Oakland, the Golden State Warriors, you have both LA teams.
Exactly.
Are there any other California teams?
Yeah, 4 teams already there.
Well, Sacramento.
Plus Sacramento.
Yeah.
Still,
exactly.
They're still there right now.
Technically.
Technically. They're going to be moving a little bit farther north, but I don't know. That's just another thing that I thought about was what happens to Sacramento in this case.
I don't think you come back. I really don't think that an NBA team's going to want to come back to Sacramento. There's no reason to. There's really no market for you over there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of need for expansion right now in the NBA, and the only teams that are doing poorly enough that would even think about it would be like the Raptors, but they're like the only Canadian team, and
are they the only one? Yeah, right?
It's just them.
They'd be pulled out.
Okay. I couldn't remember if they were the only Canadian team.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
No, it's fine. It took me a minute to think. I was like, I thought so. But yeah, it seems like they are like the only team up there, so they have, enough draw. I don't see it as like a massive sport up there, obviously, but still it pulls in people. There isn't that team like Jacksonville that was thrown around in the NFL. It was like, oh, hey, we can take this team and uproot it and give LA another team. There's just not that need for it in the NBA right now. I think, if anything, they could downsize on teams. But no, I think NBA is making the right move here. Moving the team back and giving Seattle back what they deserve.
Well, another story, kind of going to switch sides, but we're going to stay in the NBA, is today, at least I found out about it today when I turned on the Celtic Heat game, and I'm a little bit upset about it because he's on my fantasy team. But I found out Rajon Rondo, he's out for the season, ACL injury, and I'm going to ask you guys the only question that I think can be asked in this situation. Boston sits 8th in the East. Is this like a death sentence for them? Are they done?
Well, you got to think about this. Right now, they're 8th seed, but the East is not as strong as the West. So
No.
I think they could still get in with Pierce Garnett. Rondo right now was the best player on the team this year. It felt like he was the guy making everything happen. So it is a massive loss. And he was averaging, just shy of 14 points a game, 11 assists, and 5.5 rebounds. And those are amazing stats. He also had a bunch of double-doubles this year.
And he had 2 triple-doubles in his last 2 games.
Yeah.
Last 2 games, triple-doubles. And I mean, the only team that I could see, I don't know about you guys, the only team I can see making a run to catch Boston later in the season is Philadelphia. That's it.
And that's completely dependent on Bynum, I take it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Philadelphia right now, 18-25 overall. They're 11 out of first place Miami, and then you got Boston, 21-23, 8.5 out in the East. And I don't know, that Philadelphia team, ever since seeing them last year against our Chicago Bulls, I just have a feeling that you can't sleep on the Sixers.
They've got a couple of mismatches, that's for sure. I don't know, right now, I think Boston, it's just the fact that they don't have a true big down low. I mean, KG is not a center, but he's playing like a 4-5 role. They need help on the boards, but I think because they do have that experience of he and Paul Pierce, and I believe you're the one who brought up to me, Sullinger has provided some good kick off the bench.
I was just going to bring him up again, Dave.
He's got some issues with fouling out of games. Leads the league.
Well, I mean, he might he might lead the league in that, but I mean, right now he's 6.1 points per game. He's averaging 6 rebounds a game, and that type of player coming off the bench, I mean, if he does fix these fouling out problems, he could be a guy that steps into that 5 role maybe after Kevin Garnett is long gone.
I just think the problem here, the 76ers, I don't know, they have good ability, and I think like on paper, they probably look like they can catch up. I just really don't believe that they can. I mean, you see them play, and you just don't see any reason to believe that they're going to catch the Celtics.
No, that's the issue right now. It's the East is so shallow in talent. You know, obviously, Charlotte's had a horrible year. They're not going to win. Washington way out. Cleveland, they're fun to watch, but let's be honest, they're not going to make it in the playoffs.
No.
Orlando, I'm surprised they have 14 wins this year. Come on. I didn't expect much. Toronto is just continuing to be a disappointment every year. Nothing new there. I think Detroit actually could flip the script, if anybody. I mean, they're 10 games under right now, but we've seen them get decent play out of a lot of younger talent. And like Philadelphia, they're one of those teams where I just have a feeling about them. Like, if anybody could jump up and maybe pick off this injury-hurt Boston team, it would be them.
See, I don't know. You say Detroit, and I just think, Like, I mean, yeah, they almost beat the Bulls. I want to say it was, 2-3 games ago. But
they played teams pretty close, yeah.
I don't know about the Pistons. Maybe it's just a gut feeling, but, like, I'm looking at how they've played in conference. And, I mean, the one thing that sticks out to me about Detroit is they are technically a game because Boston's played 2 more conference games than them, but they're 14-13, Boston's 14-15. So maybe if Detroit can play a little bit better in conference than Boston, maybe they can get the 8th spot. But I don't know. Right now, my gut feeling is I can't see it.
The reason I have this good feeling about Detroit is their rebounding. They've got 2 true bigs and are absolutely amazing on the boards. And I just really think that Monroe is he's becoming a force on offense as well. He's gone over 30 multiple times, and his rebounding's still top. And then they have Drummond coming off the bench, giving him like 10 rebounds a game still too. Well, that's think about this. What other team has that kind of effect on the boards and down low?
Were you the one that asked me, Dave, a few days ago if Drummond was the steal of this past NBA draft?
Yes, I was.
I mean, Andre Drummond, I forgot he was even drafted. Let's just put it that way. And he's putting up 7 points a night, 7 rebounds, playing 20 minutes. Mark, you've been talking a while. Give us your opinions.
When it comes, like I was saying before, I really don't think anyone's going to catch the Celtics. I think, yeah, it hurts a lot losing Rondo. But really, I think you guys, they put themselves in a decent enough position above the weak competition that they have below them, to where I really don't think anybody's going to catch up. Maybe the 76ers decide to put up a fight towards the end, but I really don't see it. I think a lot of people were really high on Bynum, but he's not carrying this team, so you're just not, there's just nobody on the 76ers roster who can pick up the team and say, all right, we can get that 8th seed, let's do it.
Paul Pierce?
Follow me. What's that?
Paul Pierce?
He's not doing it, though.
He's not. The one thing that I feel like when you were saying that, the Celtics don't have that one player that's like, okay, come on, let's do this. I think after today's game against the Miami Heat, Paul Pierce is that guy. Because I believe he had a triple-double in today's game. And, I mean, I know if you have, 6 periods, you should be able to get a triple-double if you're a guy like Pierce. But, I mean, even after the game, when he just found out about Rondo's injury, there was something in his eye that I saw that just showed me that this Celtics team, they're either going to be really good and ride Paul Pierce, or they're going to just fall flat on their butts.
To kind of clear it up a little bit, I think that the Celtics are fine. I'm more of saying that the 76ers don't have somebody to take the team and put them above the Celtics.
See, and that's the one thing that you saw last year when they played the Bulls. Was it a one-man, let's put it this way, besides the injury to Derrick Rose, because if Rose played the rest of that series, I think we can all agree that it'd be a different series, correct?
Yep.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you could even say that if Noah had stayed healthy,
That
we would have
too.
put up a better fight, and we could have brought it into Game 7.
And, maybe if Carlos Boozer didn't turn into a ghost in the playoffs.
Yeah. But point being, it just seems like the 76ers are good at they're decent at a lot of things, but they don't excel at one thing to give them a standout advantage over other teams. They've got good young talent, but there's just nothing that they exceed over other teams and can be dominant at.
Am I out of line to say that they're like last year's Memphis Grizzlies, where, yeah, they're not a contender in the conference, but they're just a mismatch?
That could be true, yeah. With their ability to have their big man take shots from three, it really creates some issues.
Because, even that, maybe we can move into the Western Conference a little bit. Just even like Memphis last year. Yes, they were a playoff team. No, you didn't consider them one of the best teams in the West, but they were a difficult matchup for most teams. And this year, they've surprised me, 28-15 at this point, 6 games behind the San Antonio Spurs for the top spot in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, this Memphis team, are you guys buying the Memphis Grizzly Kool-Aid down in Tennessee?
I am not. I don't buy it just because I think that the Grizzlies are just a mediocre team that's they're showing up, they're kind of overachieving. I think the Grizzlies are one of those teams that is just kind of stuck in the middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
They have enough to stay there, they have enough to compete, but they never have enough to do anything great. At the same time, they're not going to be falling too far behind either.
Dave, what do you think?
True. Right now, just take a quick look through their stats. Surprise, surprise. They're number one in defense, points allowed. Only 89.2 per game. So I think that had to have the most effect. They're also very, very good on the board, as you would expect, out of having Gasol and Zach Randolph. So I kind of want to believe that I think they got a legit shot this year. Yeah, I do.
See, I don't know. The one thing, and at first I was thinking about combating Dave's point about how the West is tougher, and at first I was going to say no, because if you look at games back, you have teams like Houston, who's the 8th out in the West, they're 11.5 out, where Boston in the East is only 8.5. But if you look at the two conferences, who's got majority of the most wins? The West. And to me, the West comes down to the Spurs, the Thunder, the Clippers. Those are the 3 teams I have fighting it out for the playoffs. I think we're going to see one of those 3 teams in the finals.
I would take the Clippers out of that.
Really?
Personally.
Why?
I just don't think that Durant and Westbrook both are just phenomenal players. I think once again they will bring their team right back to the finals. They're both great, obviously. They're both scoring like crazy, as always. And then when it comes to the Spurs are just an overall great team. They're just built so well to where it's like a team that almost can't fail because everybody plays so well.
It's hard to argue against Spurs. They've got arguably one of the top coaches in the league. They've got top-tier talent at 3 different positions. And it just seems like you just expect them to be there year after year after year. And they've been there. You can't ask for much more. I mean, they've struggled a little bit in the playoffs, obviously, but I think they're trying to find their way to transition some younger talent in. But no, I think definitely the Spurs probably they have to be second favorite after the Thunder. I don't consider the Clippers up there either. Honestly, it looks like as of late we've seen a couple issues. If Chris Paul isn't at his top tier game of the night, they won't be able to compete with other teams. So that's just my opinion. What do you think, Ricky?
See, I don't know. With the Clippers, I kind of like them. And the reason being is when they had that, I want to say, 17 games that they won in a row, they played strong. And right now we're just seeing a low point in the Clippers where they're on a 4-game skid. They've lost to Golden State, Oklahoma City. You lose to Phoenix, and I just have to go, why? Why did you lose to Phoenix, and then you lose a 1-point game to Portland? I like the Clippers, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard to go against the Spurs.
Yep.
Because the one point I'm going to bring up that just adds on to what you guys have said, can't we take the Spurs and kind of compare them to the Atlanta Braves like in the 90s?
Or the Patriots of today? The
Patriots of today. At the beginning of the season, okay, they're going to win the division, they're going to the playoffs. That's a lock. That's what the Spurs are to me. They have a core of veterans where Gundy brought it up today in the OKC Los Angeles Lakers game. When you can have a guy like Tony Parker who could start but is saying, oh, okay, I'll come off the bench and still perform for you guys, that over everything else, because he doesn't just have the skill. He has the personality that you want to say, you know what, I'm not going to let my ego get in the way. I'll come off the bench, and I'll still play like I would if I started. And then it's like Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma City's Oklahoma City. I had them at the beginning of the year. I said that I thought that we were going to have Oklahoma City, Miami again in the finals.
Yeah, and there's still a very good chance of it. It looks like the departure of James Harden, well, it did hurt some. Kevin Martin's proved that, yeah, he's still a good scorer. Nothing's changed on that end. So it's a decent fill-in, but I think in order to beat the Heat, if they do get to that point, they definitely have to see good performance off the bench because that's what they're lacking, you know? They could go straight up with the Heat starters, and then they would, you know, swap out Durant or swap out Russell Westbrook, and the Heat would just leave like LeBron, and they have that 3-man rotation, LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, and they could leave in two of the three and still be fine, no problem. So I think Oklahoma needs to work on their bench. I think we all know that they're dominant force in the West still, regardless.
See, I don't know. I feel like Oklahoma City, that if I'm not mistaken, James Harden, he disappeared in the finals. Am I wrong?
He did.
And
Westbrook also shot a lot.
Too much.
It's
too much.
Some say.
It's just with Oklahoma City, I kind of feel like getting to the finals and not winning was better than if they won last year. Because I feel like now this team, compared to last year, they have a kind of sense of what they need to do differently, and it exposed their flaws, and they went ahead and fixed them, i.e., getting rid of James Harden instead of paying him more money.
Well, speaking of James Harden, are anybody surprised by the Rockets this year? 24 and 22 right now?
I kind of am. I'm going to say I'm surprised. I expected them to at least be 5 in the West.
I think that the big thing that surprised me the most with them is that you got Harden, who I really did not look at as a, starting player, especially a big-time starting player. And then you got Jeremy Lin, who also I do not consider to be a starting player.
You didn't get Linsanity?
I was not a believer in Linsanity. It surprised me that actually those two guys have been playing really well.
Yeah, it seems they found a good gel between the two guards, and more importantly, I think, sad for me to mention, the addition of Omer Sheik really, really cemented, their boards. He's putting up 10 points a night, which, as a Bulls fan, I say good for him, but I'd never expected after what we've seen from him.
We never saw that.
So you should say Omira Sheik, and I just think back to Christmas Day against the Bulls.
Embarrassing.
Christmas Day against the Bulls. I mean,
He put on a show.
why did we get rid of him? That's my question.
Money happens. We need to have 5 point guards on our team.
Yeah, I know. But I will say, a little bit off topic, now that we brought up the Bulls, I will say, though, Jimmy Butler, good job to Jimmy. I am so pleased with how he's been playing, even though we have, like you said, Dave, 5 guards, 6 guards?
Some ridiculous number. It was like Derrick Rose goes down, better get every free agent guard that's available.
And better take a point guard in the draft, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Better take Teague instead of Lamb.
Yeah. Options were there. They made their choice. So, I don't know. Right now, I honestly expected the Bulls to do fine in the regular season because we are not as deep as we were a couple of years ago, but we still have a really strong offense. Joakim Noah's come a long way from where he was a couple of years ago, and Boozer seems to have found how to play the game again.
Don't jinx it, Dave. Don't jinx it.
He's got his man Heinrich out there too.
Yeah, Captain Kirk.
Exactly. Captain Kirk plays exactly what Boozer wants him to play.
Yeah. And honestly, good help. I mean, Bellinelli was a solid pickup. A little bit limited in his play style, predictable, but he's a solid player. Taj Gibson, I mean, 6-man, doing a phenomenal job for us.
See, and the one thing I think that's most important about the Bulls is look at last year. We finished 38-10 in the conference. This year so far, we're 20-7 in the conference. The Bulls, no matter who's out there, Derrick Rose or not, we play the Eastern Conference tough.
It's true.
And I just feel like I don't know if that is a precursor, but could that be a telling point to help the Bulls in the playoffs, maybe get us to the finals, or is this year kind of like, basically what I'm asking is, so far through the season, do you believe that the Derrick Rose injury is going to hurt us from getting to the finals?
It won't hurt us from getting to the finals. We're, without a doubt, the Bulls are like a 4th seed in the East.
Well, right now they're 3rd. They're a half game above Brooklyn is why.
Yeah, I think we'll probably drop down to 4.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the season, I was kind of predicting we might even go down to the 5th seed, but we're playing better than I thought. I just think, the only thing that you can really get excited about is that we play really well against teams that are good,
Yeah, we match top-tier teams.
Yeah, we'll beat the Heat, which is always the best thing that I can watch in basketball. But I think that's the only thing that's really going to be that great of a thing to see from the Bulls. I don't really think that us playing well against the Eastern Conference is as huge of a deal, just because the Eastern Conference isn't really all that tough.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of nice because obviously they're who we have to play in the playoffs.
But like you mentioned, we came up and played to the level of the Heat, and then turn around yesterday and we lose to the Wizards. I mean, yeah, that'll happen. That's the issue with the Bulls. We play up and down to our competition level, it seems.
Exactly, and that's gonna be a problem, I think.
And I don't understand, like, the thing about the Wizards, just quick snippet about them, they can beat the Bulls and the Heat, but they only have 11 wins. How? I don't get it.
John Wall return.
True.
He's 6-3 since they came back.
I would say even though the Heat do the same thing that the Bulls do at times, which is they will play down to teams' levels.
Definitely. It seems like they're not taking as much, not going all out in these regular season games now that they've won their championship.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it took a load off their shoulders. Like, hey, we're going to be the number 1 seed. All we have to do is just keep it rolling, not screw this up too badly. It seems like they're kind of on cruise control for the regular season.
Well, I feel like we've talked enough about basketball, guys. The one thing I kind of want to shift our attention to now, the Pro Bowl, and not just the Pro Bowl, but maybe some awards that are going to be announced this week before the Super Bowl. First off, though, what did you guys think of the Pro Bowl? To me, looked like the guys were actually playing out there a little bit.
I know you guys have both mentioned it, and they do play more than they played
last year.
But
embarrassing.
it's still
the defensive line wasn't standing there with their hands up. They were actually pressuring the quarterback, and they actually saw a tackle.
There was a lot of times watching the game because I watched the whole thing. It was very exciting, but as we got 97 total points in the whole thing. But anyways, you had a lot of they try, like especially defensive line. They try, they get into the pocket, and once they get into the pocket, they kind of stop and say, "No, go ahead and throw it."
Yeah.
You saw a lot of that once they actually got in because they didn't, they wanted to give a little bit of effort. There's always the classic, which always happens in the Pro Bowl during a field goal or PAT. The team just puts their hand up, and that's all. We put our hand up. We tried to block it. It's just, the Pro Bowl in the NFL, the Pro Bowl is useless. I would like to see it gone or severely revamped. I have my ideas of what they could do to it.
How do you revamp it? Because I don't even know.
I think, this is not an original idea. I don't remember where I saw this, but somebody last year suggested something similar to this, and I kind of tweaked my own ideas for it. But you put it have it be like a full. It's got to be after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Because you got to have everybody able to compete and participate.
Yeah.
Then what you got to do, make it like a full weekend experience, and make it. I think it should be geared towards younger kids and family.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rest of us, we don't care. The people who watch football and really are paying attention to the plays, the stats, and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Pro Bowl's not going to be for us because you know they're not going to give it 110%.
Yeah,
right.
But you can do something, say, at like Disney World or something, where it's a fun family experience. Kids can go, they can learn a lot about football. They can learn the correct ways to play football to avoid injuries. The Play 60 style and the Football USA, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then do like skill competitions.
I miss the skill stuff.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. Because to be honest, I never care about any All-Star game. What I care about is the home run derby. What I care about is slam dunk contest. That's what's fun to watch.
The MLB game isn't that boring.
Yeah, now that they've added the importance of home field badge for the World Championship, it's like, oh, hey, if we try, we actually get something out of this.
See, and the one thing I think of is, Mark, when I kept hearing you talk about make a weekend out of it, even though, Dave, I know I'm going to single you out here, you're not the hugest hockey fan.
Nope.
The one thing we can agree on, I believe we could, you can disagree with me if you do, hockey got the All-Star game right, where the one night it was a fun live fantasy draft where they picked two captains and they got to pick teams where it wasn't it wasn't just East versus West. I had fun watching it.
Yeah,
and then
you get to see some player personality there,
Yeah, especially like when I think it was I think Patrick Kane was one of the co-captains and he was talking up and Jonathan Taves thought he was going to draft him and he started walking up the aisle and then he went ahead and picked Patrick Sharp, like stuff like that. Like joking around. Then they had the skills competition day and then the actual game. I feel like the Pro Bowl would be a little bit more interesting if we had the choosing of teams, not just AFC, NFC.
It is a big team, which makes that tough.
Yeah.
But that is my favorite thing, though. The actually picking teams, I think that's great.
Absolutely. Well, so we can't change anything about it ourselves.
Yeah.
But here's what happened this year. It was a pretty big beatdown. Like I said, 97 points scored, NFC crushed. It was pretty much just offense all day. I think the most entertaining part was Russell Wilson coming in to finish out the game. He went like 8 of 10 for just shy of 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, you get a chance to watch the younger guys play against Pro Bowlers and with Pro Bowlers, and you just get to see some really fun stuff.
Fun stuff such as on a kickoff, the AFC got it, and then I didn't really pay much attention to who actually got the ball, But they do the little lateral to the other guy to trick the team because that really is so confusing. And he just drops it. And then the NFC just picks it up right on the 10-yard line. And it's like, yep, good job, guys.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Excellent game.
The biggest thing I have a problem with the Pro Bowl this year, and maybe it's because I'm a Vikings fan, so I really know how the player really performed during the season because of the team he's in. They named Kyle Rudolph the MVP. Yeah, he had 122 yards, but I kind of feel like the Pro Bowl is not gives players who didn't shine in the regular season something to do. Where Kyle Rudolph would most likely not have had 122 yards this season with the Vikings.
That might have been his season high right there.
Yeah, I think it was his season high. And if he had more than one touchdown, it was his season high.
No, he had one touchdown, 122 yards.
Drew
Brees make Jimmy Graham, to be honest.
And that's what the idea is. Drew Brees, he's a great quarterback. Peyton Manning, great quarterback. Russell Wilson, even though he's a rookie, he did good things this season, and when you have a great quarterback, you're going to do great things as a receiver.
Absolutely. I think it turns out to be a treat day for the wide receivers. Running backs, not so much.
No. It's, especially in this day and age in football, it's completely gung-ho, let's gunsling at Brett Favre style.
Yeah, and then you get the running backs who you get the handoff and you're like, is this guy trying or is he gonna lay me out if I go up? You don't know.
But
you did have a ton of you'd have Marshawn Lynch break a ton of tackles because guys would go, they would grab him, and then they'd think he would just stop, and he'd kind of slow down and then just keep going. He was like, I can break this. All right, let me get 10 extra yards.
The Pro Bowl seems like a feast day for beast mode. It just seems like that.
It was pretty decent.
It seems like that feast day for him because he's the type of guy that can change speeds and then bowl you over anyways, where in the Pro Bowl you get that one guy that's like, it's like what Dave said, is he going to try or is he going to just lay me out? But, with the Super Bowl coming up, guys, we're going to get into that in our next podcast that we do next weekend. But the one thing I want to talk about, and you can kind of see it from the Pro Bowl. Some people talk about the awards going into Pro Bowl Sunday. MVP. Who do you guys think is going to be named the MVP this week before Super Bowl Sunday?
My MVP, I don't know if he's actually going to get it because I have a feeling they'll probably give it to Peyton Manning. But my MVP is Adrian Peterson. He's the only reason why the Vikings made it to the playoffs. He carried that team on his back the entire season, a season of which he shouldn't have been playing the first half of. There was no reason for him to play. There's no reason for him to play as well as he did. And he came out, showed what a freak athlete he is, showed how valuable he is to his team, and just lit teams up. And in a style that nobody plays anymore.
Absolutely. Almost with the record too. Just 20 yards short of the number one all time for rushing during the regular season. He did a phenomenal job on a team that really, really needed him to carry into the playoffs. It's tough, He is extremely valuable to his team, but I'm gonna go with Peyton Manning here because, not only the story of, he's coming off the neck surgeries, but he actually put up the numbers to back it up. He had a really strong year passing with guys he's not that familiar with. You saw as the year got on, he only got better. But I think really this team just completely was surprised by his output. I think they expected maybe a 9-win season, but he came out and he was calling plays, doing the Peyton Manning, walk up to the line, calling out the defense, changing everything up. It was just Peyton Manning being Peyton Manning again, which I think the league loves to see and the fans love to see. So I think he'll get popular vote.
See, I think it comes down to, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate between both of your picks. were Peyton Manning. Do you pick a guy because he went 13-3 in the regular season in a Denver team that barely made the playoffs with Tim Tebow, won a lucky playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime, and then lost in the next round? Or do you pick a guy who was so close to breaking the single-season rushing record? I believe he was 9 yards off, and then he comes back from an ACL injury that is the toughest injury to come back from. I think Peyton Manning should get the MVP because he went 13-3, and what he did for the Broncos this season. And Adrian Peterson gets the comeback player of the year because Adrian Peterson tears his ACL in week 17 last year, comes back this season. Peyton Manning had the neck injury, but he had a whole season to rest. It wasn't like
Not quite. He had 3 neck surgeries in that off season during that entire break time.
Yeah, but which is more comeback worthy? 3 neck surgeries in an off season, but still having an entire off season, or coming back from an ACL injury where it's like you were expected to miss an entire year?
Yeah, and he only ended up missing, I think, 6 months or 5 months. It is impressive, no doubt. Neck surgeries are scary. I mean, just the fact that so much can go wrong, and like your entire spinal cord mobility, everything, right there. So I think there's a different factor there that, ACL, everybody knows. We know the consequences of it. We know what to expect. We thought how long it would take to come back from. I think the neck surgery is just something different and something a bit scary. But I could see AP turning up a season before he should have, and pretty close to breaking a record, putting the team on his back. I'd give you that. Yeah.
You know what I just noticed?
Yeah.
The Washington Redskin fans, the past 2 seasons, this year and last year, in the last game at their home stadium, they have seen someone tear their ACL.
Ouch.
It was Adrian Peterson 2 years ago, and then this year it was Robert Griffin III. I just noticed that.
That's sad.
So so if you're a player playing in Washington for your last game of the season, you should be a little bit weary.
At the same time, following that, will RG3 have an incredible, almost record-breaking season next year?
Not record-breaking, but he will be the 2013 Comeback Player of the Year. There's no doubt.
I don't know. He had a phenomenal rookie year. We knew he was good, but we saw a different level of play out of this year's rookies at quarterback position for sure. So it's going to be hard to follow up that one. Even a little bit of downgrade in stats, because there's no way he can keep up that aggressive style running after this knee injury, don't you think?
Kind of. I mean, Robert Griffin III, the one thing that I have criticism about him because of the ACL is because he's a mobile quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like if he just became a pocket passer, then yeah, he'd be fine. But because of his mobility, there's a question mark.
It makes sense. I just think it is dangerous, and I have mentioned the idea that maybe the NFL, with these mobile quarterbacks, is going to start to want to reduce the expected lifespan of their quarterbacks. Because you always say you want your franchise quarterback, you want your quarterback who's going to be there for 12, 13 years. But I think with these mobile quarterbacks, some teams might start to say, we're okay if we get 6 years out of this guy. Because, look at Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
This is their first season playing, and he's taking you to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson almost got you to a championship game. RG3 got you in the playoffs. Even Tim Tebow got the Denver Broncos to the playoffs and won a playoff game as well. I think there is, and I think people are very quick to dismiss this idea, but there is logic behind reducing your expected lifespan of a quarterback. And obviously it's terrible to say lifespan of a quarterback, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. Playing time life.
Playing time, exactly. there's reason behind reducing that expectancy if you can get something good out of it.
Can I make one point about the teams that you listed that have made the playoffs with mobile quarterbacks?
Sure.
All of the teams that you listed, except for the Redskins, when Tim Tebow made it to the playoffs, Colin Kaepernick this year, and what was that third one besides RG3 you listed? Russell Wilson. Those teams, what did they have on the other side of the ball that was really well? A defense. And I mean, even the Redskins didn't have a push-up. So I mean, could you really say that in some of those situations that the defense helped get them
Absolutely.
where they should be?
I think the point to make your case there is Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the first generation phenomenal athlete, and he made plays. He broke rookie records, and he was just amazing to watch. But he didn't have the supporting staff around him to take that team into the playoffs.
Or the Eagles with Michael Vick.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot
whole
going on
team,
that team, but
that
yeah.
whole team is a complete and utter disaster. But guys, we're running a little bit out of time. Before I wrap things up, I'm going to give it to you guys. Any last thoughts for the listeners?
Hope you listen again next week. That's about it.
My last thought for all the listeners is going to be brother versus brother. Who you gonna pick? That's where I'm gonna leave it. Come back next time and find out.
Well, you guys can leave your picks for the Super Bowl on the Onside Kick Facebook page. Just type the Onside Kick into your Facebook search bar, hit that like button, and then tell us, more so Mark, which Harbaugh brother you have winning the Super Bowl. That's going to do it for the Onside Kick tonight. We're going to come back next Saturday. We're going to record Saturday night, put it up shortly after. It'll be our Super Bowl edition next week, so stay tuned for that. Mark will even tell you which Harbaugh brother is going to run the annexation of Puerto Rico. I want to thank everyone for listening, and tune in next time to the Onside Kick.